I'm back. What's up, everybody? Sorry I didn't do an episode last week. I was pretty backed up with some things, so had to take a bit of a rain check on that one. But like I said, I'm back this week with another sweet ass episode. This week I sat down with Thomas Stillings, who is the owner of the gym formerly known as Jump Flip Land, but now it's transitioning into Parkour Ninjas, and that should give you a pretty good idea of what Thomas does and what we talked about on the podcast. Actually, what am I saying? I never really stick to what the people do really that often. I always go off on some weird philosophical tangents or dick jokes. I don't know. It just always goes off to talking about like buttholes or something. But I try to stay on topic a little bit. But yeah, so back to Thomas. Thomas Stillings, like I said, is the owner of Parkour Ninjas Gym here in San Antonio, Texas. He's formerly known, or most formerly known, for being a part of the American Ninja Warrior show. He was on season 7, 8, 9, and 10. And this dude is also a Team Ninja Warrior pro athlete. Man, it's super interesting what these dudes can do, you know, just the connection they have with their body and the muscle memory. And, you know, it goes back to probably, you know, when I did the episode with Amos, who is the owner of Famous Juice Co. And, you know, now I've been talking, you know, ever since I had that conversation with him, it kind of just opened my eyes up to a lot of these parkour endeavors, or more of these, you know, bouldering and stuff like that. And it's just very interesting to me. And this guy is no different. So got to meet up with him at the gym and see the gym, and it was rad. You know, it's cool. It's cool. He has his own space, his own gym. He can manipulate it and build and do whatever he wants to it and however he sees fit. And it was just pretty cool. I have to say, which, you know, since this is a audio podcast only, you're not gonna notice that I was dripping sweat. Like, I'm talking about like as if I was doing like if I was in the middle of like a savage trail run. Like it was, and I was just sitting there, you know, with a white t-shirt, my little shorty shorts, and the hair was even up. And I mean, and this is not to say anything about the gym, you know, this is just me. Like I sweat like a fat slob, you know, and if you think that's fat shaming, it is. But I sweat, like, and I'm a in shape, you know, dude, but I just sweat like all the time. Like I'm just sweating all the time. And I actually even told him this after the podcast. Like, dude, I know you noticed I was fucking sweating. Like my forehead and my face was dripping sweat, and we're just sitting there talking. It might have a little bit to do with the fact that I was slightly hungover, and I was chugging coffee all morning and all the way up to the podcast, so that makes you sweat. But he told me that there's this term. Hold on, let me look it up here. We got a little time here. I can look it up. It starts with an H, I know that. And my phone's not working. Of course it's not working. Let me see if I can find it real quick for y'all. I'm gonna look it up. Term for people who excessively sweat.
According to Medline.
Oh, hyperhidrosis. That's what it was. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Hyperhidrosis is a medical condition in which a person sweats excessively and unpredictably. People with hyperhidrosis may sweat even when the temperature is cool or when they're at rest. And that is me. I sit down and I sweat like a fat fucking slob. When I wake up in the morning after sleeping all night, my ass is wet from sweat. I hope so. I hope that's the reason why. But it's crazy. I just sweat like crazy all the time. Just all the time. I don't have to be doing shit. Like right now I'm sweating. Like I just wiped my forehead. And that also could be due to coffee as well. I'm drinking coffee right now. But I was just insanely sweaty, but you can't tell that, which is super funny to me because while we're locked into this, this engagement, this conversation that we're having, he can tell that I'm sweating my ass off. I know that I'm sweating my ass off, but the listeners don't know that, and we don't say anything about it during the podcast. So it's so funny. It's like this fucking mutual silence that we have just to ignore what we're noticing and just to continue on with the conversation. But let me just shut that down already. I'm ranting on about sweating. Thomas Stillings, rad dude, super cool gym. I will be going to check out the gym and to move around with them and jump around and do some silly shit. It's a great episode. It's real fun. A little something different. I've been having a lot of... No, I'm not going to say that. But it's just something a little different. It was cool. It was fun and nice meeting him. So... yeah, let's get to the episode. I will shut up. So thanks everybody for listening, and here you go. Thomas Stillings, what's up, brother?
How's it going, man? How are you?
I'm good. So you move around a lot, man. You kind of jump around and do a lot of odd things, would you say?
Yeah, I've been doing parkour, free running, acrobatics, obstacle course training for about close to a little over a decade now.
10 years. How old are you?
I'm about 24 years old right now.
You're about 24? You're about to be 24?
I'm 24, about to be 25, actually.
Ooh, man. So you got a gym here in San Antonio, and that kind of stemmed out of your fascination with the movement of the body, sort of, or at least in the way that I would say it is you must have some sort of fascination with the movement of the body and the limitations of the body, and in some way challenging those things. Would you say that that's sort of what got you into this in the first place? As opposed to the traditional sports or something like that?
Yeah, growing up, I tried a lot of the more traditional sports, basketball, football, soccer, tennis, and none of them really fit what I really wanted to do. But growing up, I always liked to climb on trees, climb up rocks, anything I could get my hands on to climb, hang, and swing on, that's what I wanted to do. When I was a kid, if I was ever at like a carnival event or something, there was an obstacle course, I'm like, oh, I'm so down for an obstacle course. Rock wall, sign me up, let's do this. I almost do this side, that's the adult side, I'm going to do this side. You're 10, and? That was my mentality. And then growing up, I just, never stopped. And then when I found parkour and free running, I was literally like, oh my God, this is what I've always been doing. This is what I've been doing my entire life, and there's an actual thing for it.
Right, it's weird. Isn't it weird, like there's some fascination when you're a child that about running and jumping and climbing, and it's not even, and the fear is sort of absent from getting hurt or whatever. It's just you're fascinated with the idea of jumping, and kind of before you can understand about testing your limitations as a young child, you're doing it. And it's weird that, it seems like as you get older that fascination with movement and the body and playing sort of escapes you. So I guess what I want to ask you is, you seem to have come to this, you seem to have found this avenue and this route where you've maintained that fascination with movement and play. And it seems sort of general or I guess silly to say, but you've made an avenue and a path for your life through that childlike fascination.
Well, yeah, I guess a lot of it comes down to when, you're a kid, it's all about discovery of what you can do, how your legs move. You go from kind of this crawling, falling thing to, now you're standing and you're walking. Now maybe you add some jogging, or now boom, you're running. And it's like this whole new thing. Same thing with a bicycle. You start with training wheels, then you go to the 2 wheels and you're the coolest kid around. Like, I'm riding a regular bicycle.
Right.
And then as you get older, that discovery kind of escapes us because it becomes a matter of, but that discovery kind of escapes us because it becomes a matter of, we think, and a lot of adults really think I know what I can do. I know what my body can do, so they just stop. They don't go that extra mile and understanding the fact that, we can always progress more. Nobody is a master at anything. Anybody who claims to be a master is done being a student and can no longer call themselves a master.
Right, you've sort of put up a barrier that there's no more room for growth, there's no more room for expansion or for discovery. And what's so funny is people who claim to be a master in some discipline or another, it's funny that even our own bodies we can't master. There's so many amazing things that people are discovering that they can do with the body, and things that you would have never thought that you could do. And that's that must be a huge motivational factor for you in doing some of these things, is pushing yourself and pushing your body to these points where, man, I didn't even really think that shit was possible, and that's a lot of what I see. It is not, I wouldn't say at all in any way that people think that parkour athletes or these American Ninja Warrior athletes like yourself, what they're doing seems to them sort of alien or not, like non-traditional, right? But the way that you're moving your body, or these athletes are moving their body, these are movements and connections that they have with their self that did serve our ancestors and people in the past on a daily basis. Being able to move and being connected with your body, being able to escape from danger, being able to, you know what I mean? Like having this connection with your body and be able to move and trusting yourself and climbing and jumping and fitting into places. These are all sort of skills and connections you have with your body that were applicable, before this sort of advancement of our civilization. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. There's an amazing book that I've been reading as of late, and I'm probably like in my second time reading it now. It's just that good. It's called Natural Born Heroes and Where to Find Them, and it goes into the kind of biology and history of how we as the human race were kind of started from and where we are now in terms of the human body and the physical capabilities and these insane, massive strides that we made hundreds of thousands of years ago. But us now, we can't even touch what some of the things our ancestors supposedly did, lifting up by themselves giant boulders. Like if you look at Greek mythology, all of those amazing things these humans were doing, Achilles, Odysseus, Hercules, and when you look at how they were portrayed, they weren't portrayed as big muscular guys. No, they were portrayed as very lean, cut, they ran every day, they walked every day, they did everything on their feet, lifting, crawling, climbing,
right.
Everything down to the basic human environment, and they were able to be much stronger than a lot of these supposed meatheads that we have now, where it's like, I'm going to lift weights, and I'm like, well, it's actually been proven, and I've actually seen this myself, the bigger guys aren't actually able to do almost anything when it comes to actual functional movement and lifting, as opposed to the smaller, leaner people who have been moving their entire lives.
Right. Yeah. You're sort of, you're sort of pigeonholing yourself when you're, people lifting weights, pushing weights. It's sort of a singular act, it's for isolating certain muscles, it's for building muscle mass, but it's not good for functional movement. It's not good for your everyday movement. It's not good for your body. It's not the most optimal way for your body to perform. And if you're going to perform, you need to be engaging all these other muscles that a lot of the times they get neglected, like I don't know if you know this, but there are so many health issues that are connected with people having like weak cores. Like it's weird how there's you know, like it seemed kind of woo-woo for a long time to talk about the body in this kind of holistic way, or this holistic approach, like looking at it as a system. And if one system is failing, then, you know, it's causing some other abnormality or malfunction in your body. And for a long time, it seemed like, oh, these, you know, weird hippies or, you know, witch doctors or, you know, witches would be talking about this. Oh, well, let's burn them at the stake because they're crazy people, you know. But it's like they understood that the body was a system. They understood that the body can be, you could take care of certain ailments in the body by, you know, focusing on other areas of the body. It's not necessarily this isolated approach. And you're kind of discovering more and more that with, you know, these athletes that are doing, I mean, and a lot of it's, you know, I have a lot of issues with like CrossFit athletes, you know, because some of the movements that, you know, that they do are very dangerous.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But there is a lot of good things in CrossFit in the fact that it's functional movement and it has this holistic approach to the body. It's where you're, you know, you're building up the body in a way where you're not just isolating, you know, single muscles like pushing weights. You are attacking the body as a system, essentially, is what I said. So going back to this point that you made about, you know, about the book that you were describing. Wait, what was the book again?
The title of the book is called Natural Born Heroes and Where to Find Them.
Okay, I have to check that out, man, because I'm a reader.
It's an amazing book. You will love it. It goes into like the history of parkour, movement, and it goes into like dieting. Right. A little bit about that.
Cool. Well, what I was gonna say is you kind of touched on a little bit is, I'm sure what this book may talk about too is you can see the decline of our species now as opposed to, you know, even let's say 100 years ago, and it's probably singularly attached to this advancement of technology, making everything way more easy for us, making everything more accessible. Convenience is like, if there's a more loaded term in marketing, it's like convenience is it. And I don't know where we got to this point where we think that convenience is a good thing, but when we're at a point now in our society where you could literally order a 3-course meal from your couch and it's delivered to you, and the only movement you have to do is from the couch to the door, it's like we might have taken this thing a little too far. Now, you know what I mean? It's like
just maybe a little
too far. It's like what I find fascinating about this movement culture or parkour or the, you know, the American Ninja Warrior athletes like yourself is the fact that y'all embrace this movement and the body and the connections and the exercises and all of these approaches. And I mean, is that in some way the way that you feel like the technology has taken us to the point where we've kind of forgotten about how we're supposed to be connected to our body, how we're supposed to use our body? You
know, and that's actually, you know, 100%, especially, you know, with TV, video games, YouTube, you know, just the computer system and everything. There's parkour video
games, dude. You don't even have to do it yourself. You can just play the person that does
right
it.
There, sponsor.
Right?
No, but yeah, you know, we have kind of associated that with a lot of it. I mean, I stopped playing video games about 5 years ago.
Were you big into it?
I was huge into video games, like, you know, everything down to, you know, Xbox, PlayStation, GameCubes, the original Nintendos and Ataris. But I haven't really, you know, touched a video game almost at all in 5-6 years now. I'm outdoors moving almost all the time, and when I'm home with my family, and or sometimes we're watching movies, but that's like our family time.
Right.
And even my fiance, we like to have a lot of our quote unquote family time is, hey, we're gonna go to rock climb.
Right.
So we're gonna go to this climbing gym, we're gonna go rock climb there. She loves to rock climb, I love to rock climb. And I've noticed with a lot of athletes that I've hung out with and I've seen, and the training they've done, is some people like to do more, like you said, with like CrossFit specifically, is more single-minded, specific movements.
Right.
And that is a huge downside.
They're going for aesthetics instead of health reasons. It's not most of what people call working out these days, and I mean we're all guilty of it still. Even me, like when I first started exercising, it was straight to the gym and lifting weights because I thought that this is what being healthy. It's not really healthy. I mean, it's healthy to lift weights, good for bone density, you know, and it is good to move the body and to have that resistance on the body, of course, but the most healthy athlete, the most well-rounded, most optimal shape you can be in is not just going to be getting on a bench. You know what I mean?
There's lifting weights and, like you said, building that resistance.
Yeah.
And to build the bone density and everything, that's really good for you. But there's also like overstressing it, and that's what I've seen a lot of CrossFitters and weightlifters do. There's a reason why they have those knee braces and everything when they lift. Like, I'm gonna go lift this big, dumbbell or whatever they call them, barbell.
I like your meathead voice.
Yeah. Oh, it's my meathead voice. Yeah.
Why does it automatically go deeper?
I don't know. I think it's something to do with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, something like that.
So much.
One of the original big meatheads.
So many roids. His neck is cutting off the circulation.
I'm gonna go lift this big barbell, but before I do it, I got to put my knee braces on. Those little compression knees.
Take a couple painkillers.
Yeah, pop some Vicodin. No big deal.
Yeah, man, it is very strange, and it seems like, going back to this whole, I guess advancement in technology is in some ways it's pretty cool. It is a convenience for certain things. It's good for things like the medical industry and certain things like that, but it is in a lot of ways a huge hindrance on a direct, it's like a direct threat on our species, if you think about it. The existence of what we are, like our purpose here on this spinning rock that we're all on, we had a purpose before we reached this advancement in technology and this advancement in society, this culture, we had a more functional purpose, a more connection with what we were doing. And now with all this technology and everything it's growing so rapidly and fast, then all the health problems are stemming from these things. And as we're growing with technology and everything's getting easier, then other problems are arising, like health problems. With people getting knee replacements and people getting hip replacements when they're 40 years old. And it's like, dude, when's the last time you went and just ran, or when's the last time you went and just moved around and stuff like that? Like there's not any emphasis or importance on movement anymore. It's more of like less movement is better now. Less movement is convenience now. So
it just gives people the excuse to be lazy. Honestly,
right.
Like just to flat out say it. With technology where it is, it just gives people a really easy, good excuse to be lazy. And I've seen that. I go to the supermarket and I see people with perfectly fine legs in motorized motorized cart scooters, and it makes me upset and angry. And I want to go up to them. I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am." Or excuse me, sir. Mostly it's ma'am. I'll say that. Is there something wrong with your legs, or are you just being lazy? And just right up to their face. I don't care if it makes me seem rude. It's just like, I take what they're doing as a direct offense to the human race and the human species.
Right,
is like, you were designed to stand up, walk around, and move. Oh, well, I'm so big and fat, and it hurts to walk around. Well, then you walk around more.
Yeah, and isn't that weird? It's like there's actually a direct relation to moving and exercise to your overall well-being, whether it be mental health, just physical health in general. Like, people don't understand the fact that you're feeling sad and depressed and out of shape because you're out of shape.
Because you're fat, depressed, and out of shape.
Exactly.
And how do you fix it?
You move, and it's weird because when you do move and you put yourself this resistance and you survive this workout, you feel better. You feel more positive. You feel energized. You know what I mean? And it's like there's society is sort of telling us differently,
It's okay to be that way.
Yeah, it's okay.
There is this actual movement where it's like, it's okay to be fat. You're beautiful or you're handsome, and it doesn't matter what other people say. And people like to say things like, don't be fat shaming, and I'm like, and it's like, I understand where they're coming from. It's like that. Yeah, that can be mean, but guess what? Fat shaming works.
Yeah, it does. I'm so glad you said that.
Fat shaming, it works. It's not okay to be.
Oh, you're so powerful and brave to be wearing a swimsuit and you're, 65 pounds overweight. It's like, no,
that's gross.
Imagine how powerful it would be if you looked better in that swimsuit. You know what I mean? And you'd feel better about yourself. Yeah, there's this. it's like that's I'm so glad you said that, man, because this whole outrage society that we're living in for people like fat shaming people or bullying people, it's like, I mean, some of it is bad. I mean, it's all about the approach.
There's bullying to be mean, and then there's addressing an issue, and then people getting offended just because someone's called them out because they're have whatever they're doing.
Yeah, and it's calling someone out because they're morbidly obese is not to insult them or be mean. It's a health issue. Like literally, it's like you are so out of shape. Me telling you this is not just to be like, oh, you're revolting to me. It's just the simple fact that there's a huge health concern with the way that you're living your life.
And it's not even just from that person, because if that person thinks it's okay, then their kids or their grandkids, and that's
the worst part.
All the kids there, in the next generation, they grow up seeing that and it's like, oh, it's okay to be that way. And it's like, no, it's not okay to be that way.
And those eating habits and all the same things get passed down. All of those same negative things get passed down to children. And God, I hope my sister doesn't listen to this, but and this is not to say anything. I mean, I love my family and my sister, and we don't, honestly, in my family, there's no weight issues in my family. My sister, she's in shape, her dude's in shape, her kids are all active kids or whatever, but I mean, she feeds these little savages like the worst food, and I can't tell her nothing because it's when it comes down to that, it's like people take that as sometimes as like an attack on them, like, oh, I'm like, then the initial reaction for them is like, don't tell me how to raise my kids, and it's like I'm not saying that
when your kid's gonna grow up having diabetes, I feel like I should be able to do that,
or the fact that like whenever it's dinner time, the only thing he'll eat is like one of three things. It's like chicken nuggets, bread, or like some form of a gummy. It's like, and that's
all of which are bad for you.
And there's like that is the span of his entire diet, and then not water ever. It's got to be some kind of juice or something to drink, something with flavor, milk or something like that. You know what I mean? Which it's like and then people grow up, eating that shit their whole life, and then they're 20, 30, 40 years old, and they're wondering why they're falling apart. It's like, well, dude, you've eaten chicken nuggets and gummies for 40 years, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. It's like there is no more. And this is weird. It's like, if you see this, you've seen this with civilizations, throughout history, like we've seen with the Mayans, we've seen these with the Romans. They've all advanced technologically, they've all advanced societally, and they've gotten to this certain point where they've reached this optimal level, let's say building the pyramids or something like that, and then they all disappear. And it's like, and I think about these weird things, like, well, what happened? Did they reach some feat of success and advancement to where they just took it so far to where they started digressing like we are sort of now? Like we've reached to this point where we've gotten,
oh God, I hope not.
We've reached some pinnacle, right? With advancements and as a society, and then now you can sort of see that we're backstepping. Like with technology is making things easy. It's doing the opposite of what we should be doing. And I think about this sometimes, like, as like a thought experiment. It's like, is this what happened to? Because every great civilization that ever existed died before us. Ming Dynasty, all these civilizations, they died off, and it's like we weren't there. So, did they reach some point to where they just got so advanced that it just became, at some point, a hindrance and an ultimate, the ultimate reason why they failed and died off? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they became content with their lives, and they stopped doing things. They stopped doing their normal day-to-day activities. Maybe, I don't know.
And then,
something like that.
Slowly started degrading and digressing, and then as it weakens, then something happened to where it wiped them out. You know what I mean? And that's what I kind of think about that now today. It's like, we have so many things at our convenience, and it's sort of it's amazing in a lot of ways, but are we looking at like the failure, that in the near future, you know what I mean? Like it could possibly be something like this. We could be at that turning point to where we're going to start seeing signs of, it's not the meteor that's going to come slamming into our faces and blow us all up. It's us that's going to be the reason why we sort of fail. You know what I mean? It could possibly be that.
But I will say what has been really helping lately is it seems like these past year to 2 years, maybe going back even starting maybe 3 to 4 years, there's been kind of like a movement revitalization, as you could say. The interest in moving and movement has been sparked again.
You think like sort of like a health movement, not just be diet wise, but just
just moving the body. People getting more used to actually cooking their own food, and that's honestly, and that's where it starts. Is just getting out, going to move, maybe trying some yoga, maybe just going for a walk, a mile walk every day. See how that starts, and then cut back on going out to eat and just go to the grocery store, go to the go to the farmer's market, get some natural produce, and every breakfast or every lunch or every dinner, just cook them yourself instead of going out to eat. And that's already going to make a huge, people understand how much of a big help that'll make in itself. Is just start to move and start to cook your own food.
Right.
And that's it. Then what's going in your body. And even if traditionally, chicken nuggets might be bad, but maybe homemade chicken nuggets, those aren't that bad if you know what it's being cooked with.
There's definitely an argument to the fact that even if you're say the same thing, if you want to eat a pizza, if you make your own pizza, it's gonna be a healthier alternative. It may not be healthy, but it's gonna be a healthier alternative than getting that whatever fill in the blank pizza place.
Significantly healthier. I mean, you especially if you go down to making the crust from scratch. I know a lot of vegans who make their own pizza, and they found recipes that allow them to make their own pizza from scratch, and that's pretty darn good.
Oh yeah. That's so. When it comes to your diet, let's say do you sort of shift your diet between training in the middle of, because you've been on several seasons of this American Ninja Warrior, you've been on it a bunch. I mean, so when you're amping up for these competitions, is your diet change, or do you keep a pretty level, sustainable, healthy diet all the time?
I try to keep a pretty level, sustainable diet. To an extent when I do diet.
Oh yeah, we all slip
the
up.
whole time.
I ate pizza last night. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I know. I try to keep eating what I naturally eat throughout the entire year. So when I get closer to competition, I don't want to be I feel so much better. I want to feel the same way I felt the entire year.
Oh, yeah.
The same way I felt through all of my training. It's just what makes the most sense. Now, a lot of my diet I will say consists of making my own breakfast. I have a pretty consistent breakfast as often as I can when I have time to make it, because sometimes I have to get up early in the morning. So sometimes, I skip breakfast and I'll get an acai bowl, which I love acai bowls and fresh pressed juice. But most of the time, my breakfast will consist of, a sausage and a half an onion, some kale, or potatoes, and I cook that up with some jalapenos, boom, and then I make up some eggs, some scrambled eggs, boom, and I put some sriracha on there. And what most of the time what I like to do is actually cook all of those vegetables and the sausage with some Asian sauce that I can get from the supermarket.
I'm so hungry right now.
And it's so and it's really good. And and I cook all of it in coconut oil.
There you go. Yeah.
And boom, and that's my breakfast. Lunch is a really small meal. Usually I actually skip lunch because during lunchtime I'm coaching and I'm at the gym. But then dinner I like to have some pasta, or I will say dinner is probably the almost unhealthiest I am throughout the day. Yeah. It's either pasta, chicken, rice, popcorn chicken, Domino's. Buffalo Wild Wings is my huge weakness. I love Buffalo Wild Wings.
Well, man, dude, I'm a big old wing fan myself, but do you ever barbecue? Do you cook? Do you cook your own? Because I do my own wings, and it came back to the whole thing where I was just man, if I'm gonna want to continue enjoying these foods, I cook everything I eat. I haven't eaten fast food in years, and on top of that, if I go eat out somewhere, I will, once a week, and I'll slip up on the diet or whatever. But everything that I have found to be enjoyable to eat, I found like a huge enjoyment in learning to cook it myself, you know, being attached to the food that I'm eating, you know, like cooking those foods myself. And also making it more healthy. A lot of it has to do with the way that you're cooking it. You're using coconut oils or healthy fats, you know, grass-fed butters, even olive oils, you know, and trying to stay away from the corn oils and the canola oils and stuff like that. Even the way you cook it has such a huge effect on the body, and especially that bioavailability of those nutrients. It makes it so much better for you, you know what I mean? And I guess the reason I ask is, would you say that you still are? Would you find like there's an effect if you eat too many carbs? Like, how does your body operate? Do you operate on like a heavier carb diet? Are you a fats guy? Like, how does your body operate?
You know, that's actually a good question that I don't know the answer to.
No,
I've always gone tested. No, I haven't. I've always wanted to. I've always actually wished someone who really knows their stuff about that would sit me down and go through that with me. But when it comes down to it, and I see people like, oh, has this bag of pretzels or something, like, has this many carbs, this many this much that, and I'm just like, it's a bag of pretzels. Open it and eat it.
Yeah.
If you're hungry, eat.
Yeah.
You know, I relatively eat a lot of the same stuff that I've been eating for years, and it's just because I've always eaten it, and you know, I'm still very lean, I'm still very healthy, I'm still very strong, I'm still getting stronger. So obviously, you know, what I'm doing is not, you know, that terrible for me. Yes, it could be better, but it's not like I'm going at McDonald's. I'm not going to like huge fast food chain restaurants all the time and eating that all, and like we talked about, like with most people. For the most part, I like to eat what I make minus dinner, and that a lot stems to I usually get home around 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I want something fast, ready. You know, I just want to, you know, call someplace, pick it up, go home, eat with my fiance, and go to bed, because I got to get up, you know, sometimes early the next morning and do it all again.
Right. Well, the reason I ask is because I found this with, you know, this is not something that I would have. This is like this information or this knowledge that I have now about, you know, about my body specifically, or just about asking the question about, you know, other athletes and other people, how that food affects them, is that, you know, people are vastly different, especially when it comes to their food intake and how that specific food that they're eating is affecting their body. And me specifically, you know, about 2 years ago, I drastically changed my diet. You know, I cut out more than that, actually. I cut out essentially probably 90% of all sugars, you know, and that cut out, you know, that's going to take care of any energy drinks, sodas, candy, any of that bad stuff that I was eating before.
You know, those are like the big three right there when it comes to when you look at processed sugars.
Wanting to treat yourself, that's a big thing.
Almost any treat out there, but it's like, you know, soda is honestly number one. If you can cut out soda out of your diet, you will automatically, within a week, if you can get through I tell people, if you can get through that first week comfortably, and if it's not comfortable, go 2 weeks, I guarantee you will feel better.
Oh yeah, but and that's you know, that's sort of, you know, that's the reason I asked, is because with me, when I eat, and I've said this, you know, to exhaustion already on the podcast, so listeners are just, you know, they're just gonna scream at me for this, but I just, you know, I tell people that, you know, you might not know, but those mood regulating chemicals, the serotonin and the dopamine chemicals that regulate your happiness and your mood, your energy levels, those are actually produced in your gut. So like there's this huge emphasis now on this movement on like healthy gut biome, and I got really into it, I'd say about 2 years ago. So when they say that you are what you eat, there is a scientific connection with that. In fact, if you're shoveling down shit and you're eating that nasty food, then your gut, you have an irregular, unhealthy gut biome, an unhealthy ratio of gut bacteria, and you're not producing those mood regulating chemicals as optimal as you could be. So not just the way you feel, you know, your happiness level, your mood level, but your energy level, and you know, the way that you feel in general. All those beneficial chemicals are made in the gut. So I kind of took that pretty seriously, and you know, because you know, there's depression and anxiety and stuff like that is pretty I wouldn't say rampant, but it's definitely apparent in my family. So I shifted all these things, and I noticed such a drastic change in the way that I felt, all the time, and just eating. And I've kind of gotten to this point where, with the exception of, I still met, like I said, sometimes I do slip up, a couple days a week, and I'll eat something, but it's really just healthy fats and meat and vegetables, meat and greens. That's really just what it is. And so that's the way that I found my body works the best. That's the way that I feel the best. And I find it fascinating. And I get somewhat like envious of people sometimes that like they can eat whatever, because I know people that they can just eat whatever the hell they want, man. And it's not, and I'm not even talking about like aesthetically, like they're in shape and everything, but their mind operates, their brain operates, it's firing all the time. Like these foods don't affect them at all in any way. And it's kind of strange. And that's why I asked, is if you'd found some sort of, I don't know, approach to your diet that helps or benefits you in the most cases. But if what you're doing works, man, and obviously it's working, so that's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, I have, I do notice, like, when I go to competitions, and when I compete, I particularly like to fast, to where like 24 hours before I run a competition, especially on American Ninja Warrior, the show, I try not to eat as much as possible. I'll eat little tiny things, like I'm talking like a fruit salad. Yeah. And that's my entire meal throughout the day, or an acai bowl, maybe a small salad, maybe a salad. Sometimes even a salad is too heavy for me. And then just water, and or a flavored type water thing. And I try to stay as light, and that allows me to stay as light as possible, most awake, most energy. But then once I'm done running, I have no energy left. I'm shot. Yeah. And I do know that's because I haven't been giving my body that day the nutrients it needs. But at this point, for me, when I look at American Ninja Warrior, particularly when I run the course on the show, it's like I don't need a whole lot of energy. I'm doing 5 obstacles. I just need to get to those 5 obstacles, and I need to be as light as possible. Yeah. So I try to stay as light as possible. I've started experimenting with implementing a little bit more of a little bit more protein and carbs into my diet when I compete. Usually, and I've started doing it throughout in the morning of a competition, and then my lighter foods for the rest of the day. Yeah, just to maintain that, just to sort of distract your body enough to get through that course and to function as well. I mean, you don't want to be starving. I guess you could. You might be better. I mean, if you're hungry, it's like, let me get through this shit, Like, oh yeah. But so let's get back to how did you initially get into the American Ninja Warrior process? I mean, there's I'm sure there's like a regional circuit. You started training, so take us back there and kind of break, because people want to know, like, how did you get into doing these sort of things, and then ultimately end up competing on national television for something that you love to do? When I was really little, like 10, 12 years old, I was watching on the show G4. The older audience out there will know about G4. There you go. The original OG network with Attack of the Show and everything. They also streamed a Japanese special called Ninja Warrior. In Japan, they call it Sasuke. And it was just the massive obstacle course, the original Ninja Warrior. Right. There was no qualifying city finals. There was only stage 1, 2, 3, and if you got past there, you go to 4. And then there was, when I was watching one day, there was an American athlete named Levi Muenberg, and he in his bio and his special, they're like, he's a avid parkour and free runner from Los Angeles, California. And I was like, parkour free running, what is this? This is amazing. And I've been watching Ninja Warrior for years at this point. So I was just watching it on TV, and I just Googled parkour free running. Boom, bingo, bango, jingo, knocked that out. And after that point, I just dove straight into training for parkour and free running, and I stayed into there.
And training, what do you mean by training? Did you find like a gym? Did you just start watching videos on your own time?
I was living in Valdosta, Georgia at the time. There was nothing. All there were was YouTube and videos, the old 3-run videos, Parkour Evolution, Urban Free Flow. Is just kind of watch people do, maybe find a tutorial here and there. This is when the community was still very young.
Right.
So there wasn't a whole lot out there. And I was just training in the backyard, replicating some of the movements that I saw. And then after a while, I moved to San Antonio, and I met the parkour community here. Whole new experience. I'm actually training with other people. A lot of people I've been idolizing growing up in my training. Texas Parkour and the San Antonio community was one of the big communities when I was.
And how did you get connected with this parkour community? Or like social media or
just YouTube? YouTube. YouTube. When I was getting into training, like I said, I watched a lot of Texas Parkour videos in the San Antonio parkour community with them, and I was like, oh man, I wish I could live in San Antonio. We used to have one of the biggest communities in the country, and then when I moved here, I not too long after that, I was at a local park across from my apartment that I was living at, and I met a guy there, and his name was Devin Martin, and I was like, hey dude, you do parkour? And he's like, yeah man, there's a gym over here down the road that teaches parkour. And I'm like, what? It was a gymnastics facility, and that's where I met Mike, and me and him have been lifelong friends ever since. He actually runs the parkour program here at my gym to this day. We've known each other ever since that day we met, and he introduced me to the other people in the community, and it just was smooth sailing from there. Parkour kept me going, kept me training. I honestly forgot about American Ninja Warrior for a little bit. I still watched it, but I was like, I gotta be 21 to be able to compete. So until I got closer to that age, it didn't even register to me until I got to like 19, 20 years old.
Okay, and so then there was. So then you got in, when you got to be of age, you just started hitting up some regional competitions, and it kind of birthed your way to this platform of where you made it to
No, not really. Actually, my first Ninja Warrior competition was actually the show.
What? How did you get into that? They just came to San Antonio or something?
So how Ninja Warrior works is, there are local competitions, but I have nothing to do with the show, because the show is what it is. It's a TV show. Uh-huh. To get on it, you have to apply. You send an application and a submission video to be on American Ninja Warrior. And if they like you, they'll call you and say, hey, is this Thomas Stillings? Hey, it's so-and-so from NBC's American Ninja Warrior. We just want to call and let you know we like your submission video. We want you to compete this year, and your regional qualifier is going to be, for us that year, was Houston, Texas. There's about 5, sometimes 6 regional qualifiers, and at each regional qualifier, there's 110, 120 athletes, something around that number. And then within that 120, top 30 go to city finals. They can compete the next day. The very next day, city finals, same 6 obstacles they did the night before, plus 3 more. I think it's, 3 more. No, 4 more. Sorry, 4 more. And then after that is the top 15 go to the Las Vegas National Finals, and that's the stage 1, 2, 3, and 4. But to get there, you need to prove in your region you're in the top 15.
Okay.
So my first competition was Houston qualifying. I was so nervous. This was, oh my God, 4 years ago. Yeah. This is my first. I've done the past 4 years of American Ninja Warrior. Season 7 is back when this was American Ninja Warrior Season 7, and there's a thing on American Ninja Warrior, but which was from Season 6 to Season 7, and then 8, 9, 10. There was like a jump in difficulty in the change of the show and how it looked and the obstacles looked from Season 6 to Season 7. There was
more advanced.
It looked a lot more rad, honestly. Yeah. And just the level of difficulty was just skyrocketed. So it was my first year, and it was so nervous, but I have a tendency of getting tunnel vision when I compete. I'm all happy-go-lucky, but once they count you down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the second they say go, my mind just zeroes in on only what's in front of me.
Wow, does that get kind of tap into that flow state whenever it's time to compete, huh?
Yep. You know, I see a lot of competitors, they get so nervous and everything and they notice everything around them, so much going on. And I'm just like, you know, to me, it was always just like a normal thing. When I'm in serious mode, I'm in serious mode. I go tunnel, like I said, I go tunnel vision. I don't know what's happening around me at all. I only know of what I'm doing. It's in front of me.
What do you sort of attribute that state of mind to? I mean, I think a lot of the reasons why people can't tap into that, and I know this firsthand, is they're so worried about external stimulus that sort of hinders any kind of ability to tap into that flow state or to kind of zone in, like you said. I mean, is there any? Do you think it's just is doing the work and being as prepared as possible, or do you think it's already some sort of innate, you know, characteristic that some people have?
You know, a lot of it actually just comes down to just the mindset of, you know, being competitive. I'm naturally very competitive, whether it's with other people or myself. It's just I always try to do better, to be better. You know that saying of be better tomorrow than you were today. Right. You know, a lot of people are just not super competitive, so it is really hard for them to be to get into that flow state, because if you're not competitive, how can you take it seriously?
Right. Do you think that? Do you have an issue with, let's say, do you find yourself getting overwhelmed sometimes about uncertain things, you know what I mean? Like, do you get overwhelmed about things that other people are maybe more advanced at doing, or are you able to kind of compartmentalize that and break it down and see the sort of flow of things and see the process of how somebody gets there? Because there's sometimes, you know, sometimes in my life, you know, with certain things, you know, I've been held back sometimes doing things because of other people witnessing other people that were at some level, and it's overwhelming to think about all the work that got into that, you know, not finished product, but the product that you see there, I guess, performing or doing the task that whatever it might be, you know what I mean? Because I talked about this with other people too, is I have a mind that likes to unravel the process and understand it instead of jumping into it and just doing it. You know what I mean? And that's sort of it's not a good way to think, I would say. It's not a good way to attack things, because it's like it's sort of like how people talk about, you know, focus on the day, you know, because if you start focusing on a year from now, 5 years from now, or what could happen, or all the possibilities that can come out of it, then you're just going to be stuck in that place and you're not going to move. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of that comes down to just, I would say, everybody moves differently, everybody progresses differently, everybody does everything their own way. But in a sense of being overwhelmed when you see someone doing something at a different level than you, or doing something that like you've been trying for months and someone just comes up and does it first try, I would say that has never really overwhelmed me. But that's because that's my kind of training, is always pushing the boundaries, pushing the limits. You know, I'm never content with where I am. I always want to go
So it's a
further.
motivational thing for you if you see somebody, or you see a place that you want to be, or somebody does something, I guess, more, you know, out of your skill level at that point.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of it is specifically for when you have a challenge and a goal of something you haven't seen been done. You don't know if it's doable. And then if someone actually comes up and does it, yeah, sometimes it can be just like, I've been doing this for a while and this person just does it really easy. And it can, you know, kind of hurt that mindset a little bit of just like, you know, making you feel like shit. But even more than that, what it does let you know is for sure, okay, but now I know this is doable.
It's like the 4-minute
I know
mile.
it can be done. Yeah, exactly. I know it can be done. Someone has done it, so I can do it too. I just have to put in that work.
Yeah. So whenever just the budget of these American Ninja Warrior obstacles, or these, you know, these obstacle courses, like, can you really get, I guess, sufficient training outside of those courses in other areas? I mean, because you have your gym here, but if you look at like the course of the like any of the seasons that you've been on, it's like that's not something that's necessarily that course or that just monumental sized obstacle course, that's not necessarily accessible to you or your training on a daily level. It's more of like you have to exercise and break down the tasks one by one and train those, and then you put them all together as whenever you run the course, right? Or do you find it difficult to get that training in to prepare for that course?
Not at all. I mean, especially for me with parkour, it makes it a little easier for me because I'm used to, adapting to the situation, adapting to the environment. I know the technique, and now it's just adapting what techniques I know to that specific one.
Right.
And all the best athletes are able to do that. Every time we get a new obstacle, all of the, best athletes can look at it and not be intimidated by it and just take a minute, we take a step back, we look at it, we break it down. What technique are we going to use here? All right, cool. This is the technique for the obstacle. Okay, now what obstacles have I done that use that same technique so I can have that thing in my head that connects these two?
That muscle memory and that experience that you have doing all those other techniques on other things.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the gym. You're a busy guy, and I'm a busy guy. So let's get into the gym. This is your business. This is what you do now. How long have you had the gym open? And by the way, the gym, Jump Flip Land. It's over here off Broadway. And what is this street? Freedom Drive in here in San Antonio, Texas. So why a gym? I mean, I guess it's sort of a natural progression from what you do and what you compete. But is it always something that you sort of forethought you might do?
Yeah, I love competing and everything, but I also love coaching.
Yeah.
Coaching. I've been coaching since I was 16 in parkour, gymnastics, tumbling, and obstacle course training. And I just wanted to open up my own gym because I got tired of teaching my programs and programs with my friends and my coworkers in a facility that wasn't designed to do that. So we were teaching in a gymnastics facility specifically, and those are okay, but you shouldn't be teaching ninja or parkour in a gymnastics facility. You should be teaching in a facility designed for that.
Right.
So we just got tired of where we were at, and we were like, we're just going to open up our own gym, and that's what we did. We opened up Jump Flip Land. Now we've renamed it Parkour Ninjas because it just kind of, that name just fits better with who we are and what we do here.
Oh, is that why the website changed and everything
Yep.
too? Oh, okay.
So we get a lot of people who come in and be like, Jump Flip Land, I thought you were gymnastics or a trampoline park or a tumbling facility. And we're like, no, we're not. And after a year of that, we were like, or a year and a half of that, we were like, okay, we need to change the name. So we looked at it and we were like, what about Parkour Ninjas? And like, there's no way this is still available. With how many Ninja Warrior parkour gyms there are in the world, this is not still available.
And it was?
Guys, this is totally still available and nobody's taking it. So we snatched that up. We're Parkour Ninjas now. Located in the same place, 2506 Freedom Drive. And it just kind of has been really good because our facility, like I said, we teach parkour, American Ninja Warrior. We also have a tumbling program, preschool, mommy and me. This is what we love to do. And one of my favorite things about my gym is now I can change the layout of my gym anytime I want because it's my gym.
Right.
I don't need to go through anybody and be like, hey, can I do this or can I do this? It's like, hey guys, I'm gonna do this. They'd be like, are you sure it's okay? It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the owner thinks it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, let me go ask him real quick.
I tell people that all the time.
So, as far as the actual construction of the gym, is this just kind of a do-it-yourself kind of thing back here? Are you doing all this yourself? You got help?
Yep.
Really?
A lot of it's do it myself with the help from the other employees here and my father, who's also my business partner.
Oh, so then you got the father and both of you, and seems like y'all are a little handy around here. Y'all did this all yourself, painted, built,
Yep.
constructed.
Built and constructed almost everything in the gym. There's only a couple of things in there that we actually bought from other people.
So when you get an idea of some obstacle that you want to build, it's just
Put it on paper, budget it out, build it. That's basically what it comes down to.
Seems like a pretty good plan.
You know, it's like if we have an idea and we have the budget to do it and we know it's going to be awesome and fun and our clients and our kids will have a great time on it, yeah, we're going to build it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Well, Thomas, we're going to wrap this up here in a bit. I mean, it's nice meeting you, man. You're a rad dude. You're into a lot of really cool things that I have gotten into recently, so I'm sure we're going to run into each other more. I need to come check out the gym and definitely run around with you a little bit. You can show me some things. I learned a lot of stuff when I went up to Jungle Movement up in Round Rock. Check that out. You can look those guys up on Instagram. I think it's just at Jungle Movement, but that's another great place too. And so why don't you go ahead and just plug anything you want to plug. If you got anything coming up, anything you want to promote, sponsors, whatever, Instagram, whatever you want to do, just throw it out there so people can know where to find you and know about what you got coming up.
Yeah, you know, you can always, one of the best ways to follow us is Instagram at Parkour Ninjas or parkour.ninjas. We always try to stay up to date and post a lot of the current monthly/weekly challenges we have in the gym that either myself or the other coaches are setting, as well as, you know, we always have our free adult open gyms that we have that are donation based every Wednesday night from 8:30 to 10:30, 18 and up's completely free. It's all donation based, 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Cool. I have to come on. It's tomorrow Wednesday?
We have a really good group. Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday. We have a really good group of people. You know, sometimes we have 5 to 15, 20 people and practitioners here, all just helping each other, moving around, having fun, coming up with challenges and breaking them down.
Awesome, man. Well, you got yourself a really cool gym here, man, and I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I met you, and thanks for doing the podcast, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody, for the podcast. Once again, the podcast, like always, is available on YouTube, iTunes, and I know I've said this to exhaustion, but now it's on Google Play. Just do me a favor, guys. Go out there and just rate, review. You want to talk some shit? That's fine, as long as you subscribe and rate and review. I'm cool with that. Just go out there and say what you want. Do what you want. Thanks again, everybody, for listening. Thanks for the love, and the people that are reaching out, I really appreciate it. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you.